भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो 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 भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयतीरे नक्षत्राणेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। ॐ विराजस्य चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती प्रसादिनी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी भाषाप्रवेशकारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण प्रभु नित्यानंद। कृष्ण Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, chapter number 11, and we are going to read verse number 6 today. So, chapter 11 is entitled Jada Bharata Instructs King Rahugana. So, we are on 5:11:6. So, if you have your mobile phones where you can see this verse 5:11.6, you can take it out. Do not have it on the board. And we did 5:11.6. दुःखं सुखं व्यतिरिक्तं च तीव्रं कालोपपन्नं फलमागनक्ति आलिङ्ग्य माया रचितान्तरात्मा स्वदेहिनं संस्कृति चक्रकूटः दुःखं सुखं व्यतिरिक्तं च तीव्रं कालोपपन्नं फलमाव्यनक्ति आलिङ्गमाया रचितान्तरात्मा स्वदेहिनं संस्मृतिचक्रकूटः सुखं व्यतिरिक्तं च तीव्रं कालोपपन्नं फलमाव्यनक्ति आलिङ्गमाया रचितान्तरात्मा स्वदेहिनं संस्मृतिचक्रकूटः दुःखं सुखं व्यतिरिक्तं तीव्रं कालोपपन्नं फलमाव्यनक्ति आलिङ्गमाया रचितान्तरात्मा स्वदेहिनं संस्मृतिचक्रकूटः
Sukam Sukam Vitiriktam Tivram
Dukkham Sukam Vitiriktam Sahiram
Nam Palam Avyakti
Kalam Patanyam Paramavyanate
Antaratma Niti Chakra Sukam Yatiriktam Tivram
Dukkham Sukam Vitiriktam Sahiram
Nam Palam Avyakti Yamaya Sukam Sukam Vitiriktam Tivram
Dukkham Sukam Vitiriktam Sahiram
Kalo Kapannam Palamagyanakti Alinjamaya Rachitantatma Hinam Samsmriti Chakrakutaha
Dukkam sukam vyatiriktam cha tivram Padu upapannam palamavyanakti Alingyamaya rachitantraratma Dehinam samsritti chakrakutaha
Dukkam Sukam Yatiriktam Chativram Papannam Palam Avyakti Alinkyamaya Chitantaratma Hinam Samsriti Chakra Yatiriktam Chativram Kalo Kapannam Palamavyanakti Alingyamaya Chitantaratma Hinam Samsriti Kala Chakuta Dukkam Sukam Yatiriktam Chativram Palamavyanakti Hinam Samsriti Chakra
Dukkham, unhappiness due to impious activities.
Unhappiness due to impious activities.
Sukham,
Sukam,
happiness due to pious activities.
happiness due to pious activities.
Vyatiriktam,
Vitiriktam,
illusion.
illusion,
Sure, also.
also,
Tivram,
Tivram,
very severe.
very severe.
Kala upapannam,
Upapannam,
obtained in the course of time.
occurring in the course of time.
Palam,
Palam,
the resultant action.
resultant action.
Abhinakti,
Abhinakti,
creates.
creates.
Alingya,
Alingya,
embracing.
embracing.
Maya Rachita,
Maya Rachita,
created by material nature.
created by material nature.
Antaratma,
Antaratma,
the mind.
the mind.
Swadehinam,
Swadehina,
the living being himself.
the living being himself.
Samsmriti,
Samskriti
of the actions
of the actions
and reactions of material existence.
and reaction of material existence.
Chakrakutaha,
Chakrakutaha,
which deceives the living entity into the deep. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki. The materialistic mind, covering the living entity's soul, carries it to different species of life. This is called continued material existence. Due to the mind, the living entity suffers or enjoys material distress and happiness. Being thus illusioned, the mind further creates pious and impious activities and their karma, and thus the soul becomes conditioned. Purport. Mental activities under the influence of material nature cause happiness and distress within the material world. Being covered by illusion, the living entity eternally continues conditioned life under different designations. Such living entities are known as Nityavat, eternally conditioned. On the whole, the mind is the cause of the conditioned life. Therefore, the entire yogic process is meant to control the mind and the senses. If the mind is controlled, the senses are automatically controlled. And therefore, the soul is saved from the reactions of pious and impious activities. If the mind is engaged at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Savay Mana Krishna Padar Vindayo, the senses are automatically engaged in the Lord's service. When the mind and senses are engaged in devotional service, the living entity naturally becomes Krishna conscious. As soon as one always thinks of Krishna, he becomes a perfect yogi. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Yoginam api sarvesham mat gate antaratma. This antaratma, the mind, is conditioned by material nature. As stated here, Maya rachitantaratma swadehinam samsmriti chakrakuta. The mind, being most powerful, covers the living entity and puts him in the waves of material existence. Very heavy. So we are in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 5, where we are talking about the conversation that is happening between Jadabharat and King Rahugana. And here Jadabharata has seriously started instructing King Rahugana. Earlier as well, he has given some little knowledge based on which King Rahugana has understood his mistake of treating Jadabharat as an ordinary person and even engaging a Vaishnava in his own service. Engaging Vaishnava in our own service is not good. The Vaishnavas, actually, everyone should be engaged in service of Supreme Lord. So while we are serving the Supreme Lord, if we even engage the Vaishnavas in our own service, we are deviating in a way. So we should always try to engage the devotees and in general the public in Krishna's service. That is the job of a devotee. That is the job of a spiritual master. And that is the job of everyone actually. But we have forgotten this idea. But anyway, so he engaged Jadabharat in his own service. And when he understood that he has made this offense, not only of engaging him in his own service, but he insulted, he chastised Jadabharat. That is even worse offense. So once he understood that I have done a mistake, the best thing that he has done, he has fallen at the feet of Jadabharat and asked for forgiveness. So he has asked for forgiveness from Jadabharat. Jadabharat, being a Vaishnava, he has forgiven King Rahugana. So this reminds me, my Guru Maharaj mentions that as soon as you make an offense, you understand, you should ask for forgiveness. And then someone asked him that, but Maharaj, what if the Vaishnava doesn't forgive? And he was jokingly saying that Vaishnava means he will forgive. And if he doesn't forgive, then is he a Vaishnava? Of course, the forgiveness as well has to be sincere. If the sincere forgiveness has been asked, then the devotees will definitely forgive. So, Jadabharat has forgiven Rahugana, and not only forgiven, because forgiveness is at one level, that someone has offended you, and you say, okay, that's fine, I have forgiven you, but keep some distance from me. In the mind, you may say that, okay, I have forgiven you, but keep some distance. That is what my forgiveness is. But Jadabharata's forgiveness, he is a pure devotee. His forgiveness is at a different level. Not only he has forgiven King Rahugana, he is giving him the highest knowledge now. Can you imagine this? That the person who had just insulted you, you are giving them the best of the knowledge that is possible. It is like giving them, in the materialistic term, giving them a Kohinoor. That you have just insulted me, you have just slapped me, and you have asked for forgiveness. I said, okay, that's fine, here is Kohinoor from me. It is like that. So this Kohinoor is this supreme knowledge of the Supreme Lord. In the spiritual terms, if you see, this is the real wealth. This is the real knowledge. And Jadabharata not only has forgiven King Rahugana, but has also decided to give him the highest knowledge. And as King Rahugana had requested that please give me this knowledge in an easy to understand format, so he is giving it in a simple language to King Rahugana. And last few weeks we have been talking about this, so I'm not going to mention that in detail. But Jadabharat had given some knowledge in the beginning. Rahugana has heard that. So actually Rahugana had chastised Jadabharata using some points. Jadabharat has responded to King Rahugana. And when Rahugana asked for forgiveness, Rahugana had put counter arguments to Jadabharat's arguments. So Rahugana said something, then Jadabharat has given the knowledge to cross those points. Rahugana has counter-argued Jadabharata's points, and now Jadabharata is responding to that argument. So it is like this nice conversation that is going on between Jadabharat and Rahugana. So here he is addressing this counter-argument that Rahugana had given earlier, that you are saying that you are not this body, you are this, so you are not fat, or you are not skinny, you are not tired, or you are not powerful, or all of this. Because you are saying that you are a spirit soul. But if you see that yesterday as well we were talking about it, that this example that Rahugana gave, that when you heat up the pot, the material inside the pot also gets heated. So when you have put the fire under the pot, the fire is not touching the material inside, but still the material inside gets heated. The khichdi gets cooked inside the pot. So this pot is like the body, and the khichdi inside is the soul, and the atma. So just like you are saying, this pot and khichdi inside is getting heated. Similarly, when the body goes through pain and pleasure, isn't that the soul also going through that pain and pleasure? So this is what his argument is. And this is where Jadabharat is now explaining to him that all this pain and pleasure is coming because of the mind. So before we go ahead, because we raised this is in continuation with the topic that we covered yesterday. Who remembers what we covered yesterday? Because then I can just continue from that topic further. Those who were here yesterday. Yeah, so we talked about this wonderful verse yesterday. It was talking about Guna Pravaho Vikrudha Shorashatma. So what was that Guna Pravaha?
You are opposed
the Pravaha. We are forced by the modes of material nature. So it acts on us. And if we go in that direction, then it is just going with the flow. But we have to do activities in such a way that we cross this material ocean, but in not directly opposing that, like other yoga processes of jnana yoga, but bhakti yoga, like slightly tilting and then moving in that direction.
Yeah, very nice. So Guna Pravaha. Pravaha means, and we compare that Pravaha with the river. And river has a lot of force. And when the river is flowing with a lot of force, you cannot actually go, even if you are an expert swimmer, you cannot actually swim in the opposite direction. If you want to cross the river, you cannot even go like in the cross, perpendicular to that river flow. You have to go in a little slight direction so that you can cross the river. If you try to go perpendicular or opposite, it is very, very difficult and you will get drowned. So we compare that how the in the bhakti yoga process, we are using our senses and using our mind in Krishna's service. That is like we are utilizing the senses, that means we are going along with the flow. But we are just trying to intersect it with at a slight angle. And what is that slight change that we are doing? The slight change is, instead of doing all of these activities for our own enjoyment, we do it in Krishna's service. And that is that slight angle that we are giving to it. So you continue to utilize your senses, your mind, your body, everything, but in Krishna's service. And that is how we cross beyond this flow. And Guna Pravaha, we talked about that all the scriptures are given, and today as well Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing on this, that the scriptures are given so that we can change our gunas from Tamo Guna to Rajoguna to Satoguna, and from Satoguna to Shuddha Sattva. So this is how we have to change our gunas. That is the whole purpose of the scriptures. And we also had a good discussion about how we have changed some of our habits and some of our desires yesterday. So any other points, Mataji? You remember? Any other points that we covered?
The real success is changing our moods. Like if you are in ignorance, go to passion. If you are in passion, go to goodness. And if you are in goodness, try to go to Shuddha.
Yeah. So this is the whole point of following the process. Otherwise, we will just keep flowing with the Guna Pravaha. So by nature, when we say that someone is of this nature or that nature, what we are saying is they are just flowing with the nature. In their Guna Pravaha, they are just going ahead. But that is not our purpose. We don't want to just go with the flow of material modes. If you are going with the flow with the devotee, that is fine. That Pravaha is okay. So we want to go with the flow of devotees, not the material modes. So we covered that. So today it is another interesting verse that has come here. And the thing that actually caught my attention here is this Alingya Maya. Alingya means embracing, and Maya is Maya, illusion. So it is not that the Maya is embracing us. It is we going and embracing Maya. This is quite interesting, that it is not that Maya is forcing her on ourselves. It is we going and saying that Maya, please come, I want you. So instead of going and saying that, oh Krishna, I want you, we are saying that, oh Maya, I want you. And once you do like that, this attachment gets created with Maya, then Maya will put us into Samsmriti Chakra Kuta. What is the chakra? Chakra is of birth, old age, death, and disease. And yesterday we were talking about how the mind is the chief amongst all these 16 elements, Shodash Atma. So the 16 factors that we saw, there were 5 gross elements, and then there are 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and mind. So this is how we have 16. And chief amongst them is mind. And wherever the mind is going, our body is going. And the mind actually is full of desires. So the way that we have created our desires, that is how our body is getting created for our next life. So this body we have got because in the previous life, we have created our desires which were like a human being. But in this human life, if we create desires which are like an animal or a plant, then or a bird, then we will create our next body like that. So everything else follows as per the mind desire. If our mind desire is to be just continuously in the water and swim, okay, then the body will get created of a fish for the next life. So this is how our mind will take us to the next life. And this is how the body gets created. And here it is mentioned that we get alingya maya. So we embrace maya in a particular way with some pious or impious desires that we have. And this is significant from the perspective that we have this free will that Krishna always talks about. That we have this free will by which we can choose what we want to do. We can choose the choice is always there. At a high level, even if there are hundreds of choices that we can see, at a high level, that only boils down to two things. Whether we are choosing Krishna or we are choosing Maya. Whether we are embracing Krishna or whether we are embracing Maya. And under choosing Krishna or under choosing Maya, there may be multiple different options. Under Maya's choice, we may have option at three levels. Again, three categorization. Again, it is like multiple categories that we can get. But under Maya's embrace, we can get either a choice of mode of goodness, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance. And in Krishna's side, there is only one option, which is Shuddha Sattva. You have to serve Krishna. That is the only option that we have here. And in this goodness, passion, ignorance, there may be multiple options in combination and permutations of these three gunas. So we can create hundreds of options, thousands of options on the Maya side. But on Krishna's side, we have Shuddha Sattva. Of course, in that, there is a variety that is there. It is not that it is just one boring thing that you have to keep doing. While serving Krishna, you can actually do Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So many things you can do, depending on your liking. But the most important part while doing Krishna service, what is the most important part in doing Krishna service?
Love and devotion. Love and devotion.
Love and devotion. Okay. In this current context, love and devotion is, of course, that is there. Doing everything to keeping Krishna in the center. Yes. Yes, that's right. That is what I was looking for. Because in this context, we are talking about the mind. So you can actually, physically you are doing some Krishna service. But if your mind is not there, then it is of no use. What is mentioned here, where the mind is, the body is there. Your senses are going there. So if your mind is not in Krishna service, even if your body is actually externally, you can see that, okay, some service is going on. But if your mind is not there, it's of no use. The mind has to be there in Krishna's service. And what does Krishna say? Repeatedly in Bhagavad Gita as well, he says about my arpita mano buddhi. Mana and buddhi, we have to engage in Krishna's service. Multiple times he says, man mana bahu mat bhakto madhya jivam namastu. So in 9th chapter as well he mentioned, and 18th chapter he has as well he mentioned. So Krishna has repeatedly emphasized that the mind has to be engaged in his service. If the mind is there, then everything is there. But if the mind is not there, nothing is there in Krishna's service. That is why when we chant, what do we say? How should we chant? Attentively. What is the attentively chanting means? Putting your mind in it. Just hearing, when we talk about hearing, is what happens is your sense of hearing is engaged, and when you are speaking, your sense of speaking is engaged. But when you are attentively hearing, At that time, your mind is also engaged. So apart from these two senses, mind engaged, then it is attentively. When mind wanders here and there, then it is not an attentive hearing.
I was listening to one lecture. In that lecture, they were saying attentive hearing is a reward we get because of all the activities we do or like focus we do. That is the reward actually. Even if you want your mind to focus on Krishna at the time of chanting, still it will keep on wandering. So how then definitely it is mentioned that it's an offense to do it. So inattentive chanting or attentive chanting. So that is just an attentive chanting, which is a reward. So we have to understand that reward will get only what we do 24/7.
Yeah, nice. So what it means is also what Anand is mentioning is that the mind is full of these three gunas: goodness, passion, ignorance. And at least the mind we have to bring to the level of goodness. So what kind of activities we are doing in the remaining 22 or 22 and a half hours actually then derives which mode we are going to remain in that 1.5 hour of chanting that we are doing, 1 hour 40 minutes or so. What kind of mode is there? We can't say that I will actually live my life the 22 hours I am living in passion and ignorance, and suddenly at the time of chanting, I will be in goodness or pure goodness. That's not going to happen. If you are in 22 hours passion and ignorance, you are going to be in passion and ignorance while chanting. And your mind will just keep moving. And that's fast speed. So we have to actually regulate our activities when you are not chanting, and that will help us in chanting properly when we are trying to focus. Then your mind will remain there. So coming back, that the mind is an important factor. That is why Lord Shri Krishna as well in the Bhagavad Gita, he has given this 2-point formula for controlling the mind. When Arjuna said that it is impossible for the mind to be controlled. You can control the Wellington wind, but I can control. Arjuna is saying that I can control the wind. He has these astras by which he can control the wind. But he says, I can do that, but controlling the mind is beyond my capacity. And Krishna says, yes, it is very difficult to control the mind, but with these two things, you can do it. And what are the two things that Krishna has given the formula? Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa and Vairagya, these two things can help us to control the mind. What kind of abhyasa that we do as devotees, by which we are trying to control our mind? Chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, other sadhana as well, reading scriptures, all of these things are also helping, but mainly, primarily, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That is our sadhana or that is our abhyasa for controlling our mind. And what is the Vairagya that the devotees practice? Four relative principles is the Vairagya that the devotees practicing. Being detached from this materialistic thing is the Vairagya that we are trying to practice. And when we are saying being detached from materialistic thing, it is not that we are just giving away everything, giving up everything and going to Himalayas. Our Vairagya is Yukt Vairagya, utilizing anything that we have in Krishna's service, that is our Vairagya. Instead of using everything in our service, we should now use everything in Krishna's service. That is our Vairagya. So, Abhyasa is also there and Vairagya is also there. So, in Bhakti process, this is how we are actually trying to control our mind. And the purpose of controlling the mind is to engage that in Krishna's service. And slowly, the mind will get focus on the Supreme Lord. And when we are saying it will get focused on the Supreme Lord, in this verse's context, we will give the Alingan, the embrace that we have given to Maya, and we will now go and embrace Krishna. This is how our mind is getting diverted from Maya slowly onto Krishna. And yesterday we saw one important factor. Yes, this 2 factors that Krishna has given. Yes, but for even those 2 factors to do, which other factor is required? What is required before we can do all of these things? Yeah, Krishna mercy is required.
Detachment.
No, the intention is one of the factors. Okay.
Focus. The text.
Yeah, we have to focus on internals, yes. But what helps us? Endeavor. Attitude. Okay. If you want to do abhyas properly and follow four principles and vairagya properly, for a devotee, what is the most important thing? What will help him to do it?
It's a
Association. Association of devotees. Remember, Adho Shraddha. Then what comes? Sadhu Sangha comes. And then what comes is Bhajan Kriya. So we are talking about this Bhajan Kriya process, but that cannot happen without having Sadhu Sangha. Only in proper association we can get the right desires. And those right desires will go into the mind. And then we will go from the material desires to spiritual desires. So this is important. We have to understand that we generally keep saying that, oh, this needs to be done, that needs to be done. But what is the sequence? If our bhajan kriya is not happening properly, that means our sadhu sangha has some problem. If our sadhu sangha is good, our bhajan kriya has to happen properly. I asked this question sometime back to Praneshwar Prabhuji. That Prabhuji, anartha nivrutti. Anartha nivrutti I'm stuck on anartha nivrutti for a long time. So how can I do anartha nivrutti properly? He said, if your anartha nivrutti is not happening, that means your bhajan kriya is not proper. And if your bhajan kriya is not happening properly, that means your sadhu sangha is not proper. And if your sadhu sangha is not proper, that means your shraddha is not there. So if you are stuck into a particular area, that means you have to see what is the stage before. Is that happening properly? So we have to have some initial level of faith. If you do not have faith, if you have doubts, then we will not even go and associate with devotees further. And if you have faith in the devotees, then and you are associating with them, then what will happen? Their desires will come to you. Sangat sanjayate kam. So with that sangha, their desires will come into you. And those desires, then with that, you will want to do some bhajana kriya. You will want to chant just like they are chanting. If they are coming to Mangalarti, you will also want to come to Mangalarti. If they are doing some deity worship, you will also want to do deity worship. If they are studying Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita, you will also want to do that. All of these things will come because of association of devotees. We all have that experience, isn't it? Before coming into devotee associations, were we doing any of these? Were we reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam daily? Did we know how to do? Did we even know who is the Supreme Personality of God? I didn't know. So, because of coming into devotee association, we come to know who is the Supreme Personality of God, how to worship the Supreme Personality of God, how we should read, what mantra to chant, how to chant. All of these things we have understood by coming into devotee association. Is there any self-made devotee here? Any self-made devotees? No? Why there is no self-made devotees anywhere in the world? There is for a reason. Because bhakti you cannot get without the mercy of a devotee. So there is no such thing as self-made devotee. It is not possible. The self-made and devotee doesn't go together. These are opposite things. There is no self-made devotee in this world. Everyone is a devotee because they have received a mercy of someone else. And because of that mercy, they are progressing. And what is that mercy? Again, is this desire that they have transplanted into us. And these desires which are transplanted into us, once that is done, that initial mercy has been received, then we have to water it. And there is that endeavor required. For receiving mercy, there is no endeavor required. But once mercy has received, then you will need to do some endeavor to water that plant, that seed that we have received. You have to water it regularly by doing bhajana kriya. Then further mercy will come. Then you have to endeavor again to make that bhakti lata even bigger. Then more mercy will come. Then you have to water it again. Then more will come. Then water it again. That is why this process is called Pratyaksha Dharya. That Pratyaksha means that we get self-realization. Realization means we think that, oh, I have received mercy. I have received mercy. Mercy is not only that you get some Mahaprasad. Mercy is also instruction that you get sometimes. And not everyone gets instruction. Sometimes you get instructions in the beginning, but then because of our behavior, the mercy stops. You don't get any further instruction. Why that happens? Because it is not that the devotee has become now the who was giving us mercy before. Now he is thinking or she is thinking that, oh, no, I don't want to give the mercy to this person. No, there is something, some endeavor problem that has come. If our endeavor was not proper, or we have become either some proud or arrogant, or we are thinking that now I have become senior, I don't require any mercy or I don't require any instructions, then of course the mercy will stop. I think 1 or 2 weeks ago we were talking about how the instructions or the knowledge flows when there is that respect is there. There is a difference between the levels. Only from the high level, the knowledge flows to the lower level. It doesn't flow in the same level. If you are thinking that we are peers, then that knowledge doesn't come. If you do not respect our spiritual master, the knowledge will not come. If you do not respect like a pure devotee, the knowledge will not come. Only when Rahugana showed that respect for King Rahu, for Jadabharata, then the knowledge started coming. Earlier, he was not giving the knowledge. He said, okay, you want me to engage in carrying the palanquin? I will do it. It is Krishna's arrangement. Because without Krishna's arrangement, no one will force me to carry the palanquin. So this must be the result of my past actions. That is devotee's attitude. Anything that is happening with him, if it is not favorable, he's thinking, okay, fine, this must be happening to me because of my past actions. This is the reaction that I am getting. So why blame others? Why blame Krishna or this person, Rahugana? This is my own karma in the past. So I'll just go along with that. But when he understood that King Rahugana is having this goodness, then he decided to give him this knowledge. Let us look at few things. Will you raise some hand?
I mentioned that if you want to Shraddha is not there. Shraddha being the first initial point, what if after developing
Very good question. So there are two kinds of Shraddha. So the question is that Shraddha is the first part, right? First point. And we were talking about if the Anartha Nivritti is not happening, that means your bhajan kriya is not proper. If your bhajan kriya is not happening, you are not able to do attentive chanting, that means your sadhu sangha is not proper. And the sadhu sangha is not proper, that means your Shraddha is not there. You have doubts. So how do you create that Shraddha? There are two ways. One is called Swabhaviki Shraddha. That it is automatically there in few people. That Shraddha is already there. And because of that little Shraddha, little faith, they are able to take the next step. And then that grows. And then over a period of time, it comes to the Shraddha, to the Nishtha stage. So Shraddha to Nishtha, that grows. But what if that Swabhaviki Shraddha is not there? There is a second option which is there, which is called Balotparita Shraddha. Balotparita means it is forcibly created Shraddha. Literally, that is the meaning. And how is that forcibly created Shraddha is there? It is the devotees, by their preaching, the Shraddha gets created. Like the JOC programs that we run. By repeatedly hearing something, automatically the doubts gets removed and then Shraddha grows. That is called a Balotpadita Shraddha. So, Bala Utpadita. Bala means force, Utpadita means created from the Bala. So, Bala is the spiritual Bala of the devotees. By that, the Shraddha gets implanted into us. Even if we did not have Shraddha, we will get implanted. It's something implanted. And in the beginning, you may not even have the desire to hear or whatever. But that is why the devotees actually create various different ideas that do wonderful prasadam. And people come for prasadam, but they have to hear before. So that is how the Bala Utpadita Shraddha. So devotees will create different ideas to create that faith in people. Sometimes the devotees also do bridge preaching. Bridge preaching is considered as that it is not directly talking about Krishna full-fledged. The devotees, when they are talking to devotees, they will focus mainly on Krishna 100% of the time. But bridge preaching is 80% all the other stuff, that how to live nicely in this world. But 20% they will introduce Krishna or Krishna consciousness in that. So that means slowly they have introduced Krishna in it. Okay? And that is how slowly little faith gets created, and then people will go ahead. Like in my office, I talk about how the food controls our mind. And when people ask me about why you do not eat this, that, or whatever, I say that I want my mind to be focused and controlled. And for that, certain food helps, and certain food it is experienced, and that it doesn't help. So instead of talking about what Krishna has said, oh, I can say to them that, oh, Lord Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita has said, mode of goodness food is this, mode of passion food is this, and mode of ignorance food is this. Yes. What Krishna? What Bhagavad Gita?
But we don't
So this will not work for them, right? So I can say that I'm interested in spiritual progress, and for that, the focus of the mind is required. And for focusing the mind, there are certain kind of food which is helpful and certain kind of food which is not helpful. So I focus on eating food which is helpful. So something like that, something simple, that is called bridge teaching. We are not introducing Krishna to them, but I have still introduced the food which is in mode of goodness to them. And that is how we have given them the instruction which Krishna has given. Srila Prabhupada in the first canto, I'm digressing, I'm going on a tangent now, but I will come back very soon, like after this point. Srila Prabhupada in the first canto mentions quite interesting point about what is realization. So realization, we think that, oh, there is Krishna in the heart, we will actually start seeing, and that is realization. But Srila Prabhupada gives a simple definition of realization. He says that whatever you see and hear in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or whatever, if you understand that and able to explain to others, that is realization. And that was quite a revelation for me. That was a realization for me. That, oh, is this realization? So then that means we have already realized a lot of knowledge, isn't it? Because many of the things we have understood, we have heard first from someone, we have understood, and some of these things we are also able to explain to others. That is realization. And many things we are not able to understand and explain to others, that those things we haven't realized yet. So things that we have realized, that means we have understood and we are able to explain. That is realization. And that should create faith into others. So that means you have realized it. So this is realization. So coming back here. So in this verse, what is mentioned by Jadabhara, that the materialistic mind covering the living entity's soul carries in different species of life that we talked about earlier and yesterday as well. This is called continued material existence. Due to the mind, the living entity suffers or enjoys material distress and happiness. Yeah, I wanted to touch upon this factor as well. That how mind creates our material happiness and distress. It is all in the mind. When we are feeling happiness and distress, especially material happiness and distress. And this was an example or the story that I may have mentioned before, but this is so apt for this. So I will mention this again. Who remembers the story of one person whose house was burning? Remember that? Yeah, so there was this one person who loved his house. It was like a big mansion, big palace kind of house. And many people used to come to him and say that, oh, I love your house. Can you sell it to me? And he will always reject it. Even though people are ready to pay him 10-15% more than the market price, he will say, no, I don't want to sell it. I love my house. So once what happened? He went to some other place. So from Wellington, he went to Auckland. And he was going to stay there for 1 week or so. And then after when he came back, and when he was coming, he understood, he saw from far that something is burning. And when he came close, he saw that his own house is burning. And as soon as he saw that his house is burning, he started lamenting, "Oh, my lovely house, my beautiful house. And this house is so dear to me, and now it is gone." And he started crying, and he was so much in pain. And then suddenly his son came and told him, "Father, why are you lamenting?" He said, what do you mean, why are you lamenting? Our house is burning. Go save it. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Father. I did not tell you because I was so busy. But I have already sold this house. You were away, but this person came and he offered double the price. So I said, you will definitely sell it. So I have already sold it." I said, "Really? So not only this burning house is not mine, but I have got double the price." And he became happy. And just like any other person who was standing there and watching, he started watching that. And he's very happy inside, not because the house is burning, but he has got double the price for that house. And while he's watching like this, the second son comes. He says, "Father, why are you just watching and smiling as a little bit in the mind? What is happening?" He said, "Our house is burning." He said, "Arey, do you not know? The brother has already sold, your brother has already sold this house." He said, "But father, do you know? We haven't received the money yet." He said, "What? The money is not happy." Oh my God. And he again started lamenting. Then while he is lamenting, the third son comes. He said, "Father, why are you lamenting? The house is already sold." But he said, "Do you not know that the money is not received yet?" He said, the son said, "But don't worry. This, the person who has bought his house, he has already given us a token amount. And I just spoke to him. He said that once I have given the token amount, this house is mine. So it is burning. It is not your house. It is my house is burning." I said, "Oh, really? Such a good person." And again, he became happy. Can you see this? That the thing is same. The house is burning. But the happiness and distress is, the person is fluctuating between happiness and distress. Why? Because of the mind. And the way that happiness and distress is coming, because of the attachment in the mind. So if you are attached to something in the mind, like your dear device, when it falls, see, my attachment, I made sure that it came. Right? So that attachment makes you feel happy or distressed. When it falls on ground and the glass is broken, the glass is not broken. Isn't it? Why that happens is because of the attachment that we have created to certain things. So this happiness and distress is created in the material world because of the attachment and aversion that we have in our mind. And we can see from this example of the person that as soon as he understands that this house is not yours, that attachment is gone. And then he doesn't feel any distress. Isn't it? Say, suppose someone like your colleague in office, he gets promotion. He is your colleague. The person is very happy who has got promotion. But what about you? What do you feel? You feel distressed. You're thinking, I was supposed to get this, but and then you will find some different reasons. Actually, I did better work than him, but he's close. He's a chamcha of the boss, and that is why he has got the promotion, or she has got the promotion. So automatically, this attachment is there in our heart. It actually creates this happiness or distress that is coming from the situation. So that is why it is called that due to the mind, the living entity suffers or enjoys material distress and happiness. So it is not the happiness and distress is created by the soul, it is created by the mind. And then, does the soul understand this happiness and distress? Of course it does. So, the soul is initially pure, it is Satchidananda. But understand that the gross body and subtle body both are material. So, just like this chair doesn't feel any happiness and distress, similarly, the body and the mind, intelligence, and ego cannot feel the happiness and distress. They are just the mediums by which this is created. But the one who's happy or suffering is the soul which is going through that. That experience that soul is going through. And it is not that soul is getting contaminated, soul is just getting covered. It's like we have this clear vision. And if you put like a red glasses onto your eyes, then it doesn't mean that everything has become red. It is just that you have put a covering on your eyes by which you can see everything red. Similarly, the mind is creating this covering on you, which is creating this happiness and distress onto you. But you feel that. So, just one last point, and then I'll finish. So, this happiness and distress is, and we can understand this part that I was explaining from our dreams. So, when we are actually sleeping, and sometimes we get some dream. My niece, whenever she wakes up in the morning, and she is quite expressive. So sometimes she will wake up and she will be very happy. And she said, "What happened? I got a good dream." She will say. And if I am there, then she will say, "Oh, I got Krishna in my dream, and I was doing like this, and I was doing like that." And sometimes she will wake up and say that, "Oh, I'm not happy," and she will cry or whatever. And I said, "What happened? Oh, I got a bad dream." So we also have, even adults have this experience of the dreams. Sometimes something is happening in our dream and we wake up and we are very distressed in that because we are still feeling what happened in the dream. But when we wake up, we understand that, oh, this dream is nothing. It is all illusion, isn't it? But when we were in that illusion, in that dream, we were feeling that it is real. And if the tiger is chasing you, you thought that, oh, it was real. And it was like you're running like a real tiger is behind you, isn't it? And you get that feeling that it is really happening. Same thing is with the Maya as well. All of these experiences which we are getting, the happiness and distress, they are all illusion created around us because we have embraced Maya. And as soon as we wake up, as soon as we remove this chashma that we have put, as soon as we actually open our embrace from Maya and embrace Krishna, automatically what happens? This illusion goes away. This covering that we have goes away. And then we can focus on the Supreme Lord. Anyway, I think so many things can be said about this, but it will go on for another 1 hour if I just continue because there are so many other points which are there in the purport. So maybe some other time we can talk about it. I'll stop here, and if there are any questions, comments, reflections, we can take.
Bharat Prabhu asked a question. I don't know, he did not.
So there is some
Hare
question
Krishna.
on that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam.
Dandot
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji, I can hear you
thank-
faintly, yeah.
Thanks for the nice lecture, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
one question. So the last point that you mentioned, like just before the last point, where you mentioned that the body actually doesn't feel the pain. It's actually the soul that is feeling the pain. But let us say, Prabhuji, like if we lose a limb or a finger or something, like in the body, or if you are going through a surgery, but we feel that pain. So is that actually felt by the soul only? The body doesn't feel anything at all?
Yeah, good question. So the question is that when we are going through a surgery or we are going through some, like we fall down or some finger is getting cut or whatever, at that time, is the body feeling the pain or the soul is feeling the pain? It is same like this, probably. In this chair, if I break this, if with my foot I kick on this chair and both the chair's feet is broken and my foot is also broken, who feels the pain? Is the chair going to feel the pain?
No.
No, because it is matter. Similarly, this body is also matter. So we can also understand this, that once the soul has passed from this body, the dead body is there, and then you break the leg of that dead body. Hopefully, no one does that. But if someone does that, is there any pain in that body?
No.
No pain. And no gain as well. No pain because the soul has left the body. So the body does not feel the pain. If the body was having this ability to feel the pain and pleasure, even after the soul has gone, the dead body will also be smiling sometimes. Oh, so many people have come. 500 people came to my funeral. Wow, I'm so happy. And only 4 people are carrying that person. They say, oh, look at that. No one came. I did so much for this, so much for that, so much for that person, but no one has come for my funeral. No sadness or no happiness at that time because the soul is gone. So that is how the pain and pleasure roti is felt by the soul, and because the mind is also there at the time when the body is dead. At the time, the mind, which is the medium by which the soul feels the pain and pleasure, is already moved onto on the onward journey. Prabhuji. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. That cleared my thought. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, reflections?
One more question.
Okay.
Goidam.
Okay, let's take 1 or 2 from live, and then I'll come back to this next question. Okay, Prabhuji. Question or comments or reflection, whatever.
There's a question is related to that Bala Utpadita Shraddha. Will it not, there's a risk of going into blind faith, Prabhuji, and then after some time you can go.
Yeah,
go
good
again?
question. That whether the Balotparita Shraddha will that be a blind faith? Yes, there is a risk that there is a blind faith that can get created, but the Swabhaviki Shraddha can also be in a blind faith. So it is not the quality of whether it is Swabhaviki or Balotparita that it is blind or not. The blind faith gets created when there is no dialogue. See here, when Jadabharata mentioned in the beginning something, and even if you haven't understood it, you accept it and saying that yes, this is it because my Guru Maharaj has said this. No, that is blind faith you are getting created. If you haven't understood it, then ask question. If you haven't fully have created this faith into that, like what is the right word? If you haven't really understood it, then you should ask questions. That is why all our scriptures we can see are dialogues. There is a conversation between the spiritual master and disciple. They just don't say that, yes, I have received it, that is it. No, they ask questions. If they don't understand it, they ask questions. So we should have a reasonable faith. And the questions are encouraged. And once I was giving one lecture in Anand Mandiri's house, her parents' house in Mumbai. And my in-laws had actually invited so many people, like 1,800 people they had invited. And that was the first time I was giving this lecture to that devotee crowd. So after speaking something, I said that any questions? And they were surprised. They said, are you allowed to ask questions? So they did not have this concept that, and especially in India, if you see, that this is like a one-way dialogue, not dialogue, there is a monologue that happens, especially on the spiritual topics. Someone is speaking and everyone is listening. Katha. And then there is no opportunity to ask questions. And this monologue is not helpful. So they were really surprised that, oh, I'm encouraging some questions in between. And then I took some questions and then I went further. And even though there were 1 or 2 were asking challenging questions, I was still smilingly answering them and going ahead. And they were really surprised that, okay, this can also happen. And then next time onwards, whenever I'm going there, I'm also taking one topic at a time. And it's quite interesting that the devotees now are asking questions and it is going on like this. So this is encouraged. The way that Srila Prabhupada has trained us is like this. He encouraged questions. Similarly, anyone who is in that path will encourage questions. And they will not be offended by some questions. And even if they are not able to answer some of the questions, they will say that, sorry, I don't know the answer, but I will ask someone senior and I will come back to you. It is as simple as that. Why we have to have some pride or whatever that, oh, I have to actually know the entire thing in the world. That is like saying that you are Krishna. So you are not Krishna. We are not Krishna. Right? Krishna is sitting standing there in this case. So Krishna will know everything. We cannot expect to know everything. And there will be so many things that we will not know. So why we have to say that I know everything? You can just humbly say that oh, I'm not Krishna, by the way. So I do not know this. And that is why I will just whatever I know, I will share. And whatever I don't know, I will get back to you. As simple as that. So this is how we are having the courage to invite questions. Because we also have the little required humility for saying that I do not know everything. Because without that, it will be very difficult. Like I still remember in the beginning, for me, it was so difficult to, when I was first lecture that I gave, I prepared for 15 days. Now here, after chanting, 5 minutes, I will read what verse is there. Oh, this verse I have to speak. And that as well, I will focus on the Sanskrit that I pronounce it properly. So, that end of 15 days, what I will actually do, I will actually think about, because as my mind is complicated, I will think about 100 different questions that other people can ask, like me. And then find those answers first. Okay, then I'm ready. That now, if I'm speaking on soul, I have actually covered many questions and answers on soul. So that way it is there. Okay. So that is how we have to encourage questions. And that is how this blind faith will not get created. It will be reasonable faith that will be there. There were one more hand out here.
Yeah, here 3 more hands.
Oh, 3 more hands. Okay, we'll take one more from here and then go here.
Govindapati.
Govindapati Prabhuji, boliye.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम। प्रभु जी, मेरा क्वेश्चन था कि जड़ भरत महाराज एक राजा थे, तो अगर केवल एक ही उनका रीजन था कि उनको नेक्स्ट हिरन से प्यार हो गया तो नेक्स्ट जन्म उनको लेना पड़ा, एक केवल ओनली वन रीजन था और कोई भी रीजन इसमें है? थोड़ा इसके बारे में।
Thank you, Prabhuji. Govindapati Prabhuji is asking that Jada Bharat was a king before, right? Bharat Maharaj. And not only a king, he was like a devotee at the power stage. And just because he created an attachment towards the deer, then he became a deer next life and then Jada Bharat afterwards. So was that the only reason? We think that it is just the only reason. But the only reason by which we can go back to Godhead is by focusing and engaging our mind on Krishna. That is the only reason and only way that we can go back to Godhead. And that itself, if is moved to a deer, then we are not becoming Krishna conscious. As I was explaining earlier, that physically we may do everything. We are doing yajna, like there is this picture of Bharat Maharaj doing yajna, but he is looking at the deer. So it is like not doing attentive chanting. So physically we are chanting, but our mind is doing something else. That means we are not Krishna conscious. We are like that, what you are thinking, that is where our consciousness is. So even though we may feel that he just got attached to a deer, no, that is not the only thing that he has done. That was the main thing that he was not supposed to do. If he wouldn't have done some yajna or whatever, as long as his mind is focused on Krishna, Krishna would have said that, okay, they chhod do. Koi baat nahi. But because he was supposed to become Krishna conscious, he became deer conscious. That is why he had to actually take a life of a deer. And maybe, again, as we were talking about the power of devotee association, if some devotees were around him, they would have corrected. But because he was alone in the forest, no one else, he and his deer. Because
Yeah.
yeah, right. And because of that, there was no one to help this person, help Bharat Maharaj, to explain to him that Bharat ji, ये deer conscious हो रहा है, थोड़ा थोड़ा Krishna conscious भी कीजिए. So that was not there, and that is why he couldn't go ahead. But actually, look at Krishna's mercy on Bharat Maharaj. We were listening to one lecture by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and he was explaining that this is not a bad thing that happened for Bharat Maharaj. We think that look at that, Bharat Maharaj, oh, भाव stage से directly deer बन गए, अरे हिरण बन गए. But Maharaj gave a completely different perspective. Maharaj said that look at look at Bharat Maharaj. He was not completely absorbed in Krishna because he was absorbed in deer. But look at Krishna's mercy that in the next life what happened? He became a deer, and not only he became deer, he still remembered his mistake from the past life, and because of that he became more and more absorbed in Krishna. So that means, as compared to his previous life, his absorption in Krishna increased in the deer's life. And then as compared to the deer's life, his absorption in Krishna increased in Jadabharata's life. So Krishna actually helped his devotee. As Krishna says, his devotee never perishes. His devotee never perishes. His absorption increased. That is Krishna's mercy on him. And that was like a revelation. That was the realization. Wow, this is amazing. Such an amazing understanding that these wonderful devotees have. Thinking that, oh, ऐसा क्या कृष्ण ने ऐसा? Oh, इतना he has given up everything and he has done this. और उसको deer बना दिया, हिरण बना दिया. So what will happen? What is my situation? No, you look at it from different perspective. Different perspective is that his absorption in Krishna increased. So Krishna helped him. So just like Krishna helped Bharat Maharaj, Krishna will help us as well. So that is how we can do that. Is that okay, Prabhuji?
Yeah, okay, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Very good.
Any question or comments? Yes, Swami, you had raised your hand.
So when we say like we have to bring our mind and focus on Krishna or into service, use our intelligence into service. And when we say like you like bring our heart in to Krishna, so is there a difference or it's just a side effect of bringing the mind?
Oh, so the question is putting our heart into Krishna and putting like the mind into Krishna, is that different? No, they are synonymous, Swami. Here as well, actually, as I said, there were many things that we could talk about in this verse. So here it was talked about Antaratma. Antaratma was mentioned. And Srila Prabhupada has translated that Antaratma to mind. And in India, in the Marathi or Hindi or wherever like that local languages, we will say that, oh, meri Antaratma ki awaaz aayi thi. Or my Antaratma was saying something. Now, if the mind is purified, then that Antaratma refers to the Atma. But if the mind is not purified, oh, the signal actually stops here, that mind level. If it is a transparent glass, then the signal goes to the heart where the Atma is there, the soul is there. But the mind is opaque, then the signal remains there and it reflects from there. So this Antaratma for a person who is materialistic or his mind is not pure, it is a reflection from his mind. And where the mind is pure, it is a reflection from the Atma. So it all depends if how much purity we have and what kind of desire is coming. And depending on that, it could be really from the soul or it could be from the mind. So in normal situation, we can say that if it is a spiritual desire that is coming, then the mind is a little bit purified at least, and that is helping us to transmit the signal to Atma and the Paramatma which is sitting in our heart, and that is where we are getting the reflection from. No, you still have some question. I can take from
Soul
it.
is like similar to heart. If we talk about soul, we can say like similar. Yes.
Yeah, so the soul actually resides in our region of the heart. Soul is residing in the region of the heart, And originally, when we say that it is coming from my heart, that means it is coming from the core of our heart. And what is the core of the heart? That is the Atma that is there. But for materialistic person, that coming from the heart is actually coming from the mind. It is not coming from the soul. Because soul will not have the desire like this. So the materialistic desires are coming from the mind. So that is why I actually gave this answer that it is coming from the Atma or it is coming from the mind. But originally the meaning is like it is coming from this. I know it is already a lot of time. Any
Voice message or something, written question.
is there some rush?
No.
It's Sunday today.
I will say.
I'm saying you get it. If they have these questions, I'm happy to answer. Others can take prasadam if they want to go and take prasadam. Because only Sunday you get devotees to ask this question. And this is like a devotee gathering. It is, we are not limited by the people who are waiting for Sunday feast for prasadam. So here as well, if anyone is hungry and if they want to go ahead, they can go. But if there are one or two other questions, I can take a reflection.
Shivani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, can you quickly repeat the two types of Shraddha you mentioned, please?
Two types of Shraddha, Swabhaviki Shraddha and Balotpadita Shraddha. Swabhaviki is, it is inherently there. And Balotpadita means, which is coming from the preaching by devotees. Then that is how the Shraddha gets created into us. Is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
We'll ask, we'll take this question here and then we'll go. And it doesn't have to be question, it can be just reflections, comments as well. So please feel free.
Prabhuji, this Balotpadita Shraddha also needs some kind of Shraddha, right? Because that without that, at least 0.01% of Swabhavika Shraddha, a person cannot come and sit in front of a preacher to his ear. So how do you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Whether it has to be the Balotpadit Shraddha also has to have some initial Shraddha in that person. Not necessarily. Because as long as there is some Shraddha on someone else as well, for example, if the parents are there and they have some Shraddha, okay, and they are going to some JSD programs, and they take their children who doesn't have any Shraddha into what is going to happen. But because they have some respect for the parents, they have some Shraddha into the parents, that is why they are going to such a program where they are getting this knowledge. So, for the Balotpadit Shraddha to continue, it doesn't have to be like this. Okay, we'll take the last 2 points, one from here and one online, then we will finish.
Just actually a reflection on that response that you said. Like yesterday at GOSD, we had a new Mataji come and she sponsored the program because it was her father's first death anniversary. But she also brought a lot of friends along. One of them was a Christian. So exactly, so you don't have to always have to have, I guess, he doesn't go to the church meeting. We don't have to have that to come, but then at least he said, I'm here out of respect and support my family members.
So they are actually not getting out of respect for the preacher, but they are coming there just because a friend invited or Dasbar bola, so actually at least I will go for once and see what it is. And they would have heard because of that. So that is how there is one. Okay, one last thing and then we will close.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have 2 questions, Prabhuji. Extension to previous questions. Very quickly. Very small questions, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in the 7th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, there are 4 kinds of people approach me. Artho, Arthati, Jignasu, Gnani. So, Prabhuji, are they before are those stages after the Swabhavika Shraddha and Balotpada Shraddha, Prabhuji?
Yeah, good question. So in the 7th chapter, when Krishna says, Artha, Arthati, Jigyasu and Jnani, they are coming to Krishna, and Krishna says that they are magnanimous. All of them are magnanimous. So are these stages before they have Shraddha or after they have Shraddha? Of course, it is after they have Shraddha. Because why will anyone come to Krishna when they are Artha, Arthatu, Jigyasu and even Jnani? If someone is Artha, they can go to the pub Why will they come to Krishna if they are materialistic? They will go to pub, or they will go to some counselor or whatever the materialistic issues, some psychologists or whatever. Then they will go there. But if you have faith in Krishna, then you will come to Krishna. So this is after they have developed some faith in Krishna, that they will come to Krishna for Artha Dharma.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prabhuji, one more question. Prabhuji, one of the functions of the mind, one of the functions of the mind is also feeling, na Prabhuji. So when we say actually the body, the mind doesn't feel the pain and all that, but so is that not the feeling? So what are the feelings like? Are these just the
Very good question. That made me say that the mind has these feelings, that feeling, willing, and thinking, feeling, and willing is there. So that feeling, that means, does the mind experience the pain and pleasure? No, it is just a job description of the mind. That through the mind you feel pain, through the mind you feel pleasure. So that is how it works out. Your car is locked.
Yes.
Which car?
AR5. Black color. AR5.
Oh.
Yeah, it is just, for example, this pen has the function that it can write. But can it write on its own?
no?
It requires this soul, like this me, who has to write it. So similarly, the mind has this function of feeling, thinking, feeling, and willing. But that is just like this function of the pen, which can write. Or this pen also has this function. It can actually click, and I can use it as fidgeting. But it cannot do it on its own. So there are two functions. So I can use it for fidgeting, or I can use it for writing. Right? So similarly, the mind has the function of thinking, feeling, and willing, but there has to be the soul which use that function, and then you can feel that pain and pleasure. Srila Prabhupada ki
Yeah.
Bhagavatam ki